Hey guys,
Bro, I'm having a problem here. Wait. My god, miracle? No way. No way I fixed this. Yes, now I fixed the stuff. I was worried. Yeah, now I guess you can hear. Let me just test
hey
this.
guys, welcome to the second episode of Amazing Animation Analysis. Now, have you ever seen an animated show
Okay.
or film and thought to yourself, wow, this amazing animation is amazing, but you're not really sure why it's so
It
amazing?
was not
Well, in this
detecting
show,
the
I take that
YouTube.
animation and I'll
Yeah, I
analyze
know.
it
I
and tell you
fixed that
exactly why
by
it's so amazingly
putting
animated. And
Spotify
in
in a
this episode,
different
I'll be
area
analyzing the
so
highly acclaimed anime
the
series One Punch
ambient
Man.
sound would not be duplicated, so I can listen to my music while watching videos.
One
Also,
Punch
we
Man is
forgot to
originally a
watch
webcomic and
One
manga
Punch
series created
Man
by One.
yesterday.
It tells the story of Saitama, a superhero who's become
Oh
so
my god,
powerful
that's so
he can
badly
destroy any
drawn.
monster Infinity faces with a single punch. However, his newly acquired strength poses a problem. Saitama can't find anyone to challenge him anymore and he's become pretty bored. The anime adaptation of One Punch Man has been created by Studio Madhouse. The first season is 12 episodes long, and they've really outdone themselves with the animation in every single one of them. There's so much amazing animation, in fact, that instead of analyzing the entire series as a whole, I'll start out by just talking about the very first episode. I've grabbed all the shots and scenes from the first
My
episode that I
god.
thought were interesting, well animated, or a good resource to learn from. I'll be analyzing each one of them in detail, and then we'll find out why they're so amazingly animated. We start off with the Scrab monster attacking Saitama. Saitama dodging it, jumping on his arm, and pulling his eye out with his tie. The first thing I notice about the first shot is that the crab and Saitama
The
are
first
moving
thing I
independently
noticed
from
is
each other.
that huge
What I mean is that
pant.
they're
Why
timed
is he
differently.
all
And if we
naked?
watch this frame by frame, we see that the crab has 2 frames here, then Saitama has a frame there, then the
That's so
crab
weird.
again, until they sync up. This gives the feeling that they're both singular beings that act independently. This makes a shot feel more believable to us, instead of it being a shot that's been directed and animated, which of course it has been. Now let's focus on the crab monster. With a big downward swing, he throws his crab hand at Saitama. Now, as an animator, what do we want from this attack? We want it to feel believable. We want the audience to think that Saitama is in real danger. We want them to think that if he doesn't get out of the way of this claw right now, that he'll die for sure. This adds a feeling of suspense and excitement to the scene. One of the factors that makes his attack feel believable is the arc of the motion. Arcs in animation are very important to organic characters, and here's why. Let's take an arm for example. The
Ooh.
upper arm is attached to the shoulder, the lower arm is connected to the elbow, and the hand is connected to the wrist. These are pivot points. The only way the arm can move is through these pivot points, and in an arcing motion. Now of course not all movements are big and use the entire arm. One can perform a stabbing action by only rotating the shoulder and keeping the lower arm and the wrist straight. There is, however, always something that moves in an arc. Using arcs in animation makes the character feel more organic and believable. So we see that the crab monster's
Yeah,
arm
arcs
has a
are
nice
hard
arc.
for me.
This is caused by him turning his shoulder up and down and rotating his middle. The front part of the claw follows the arc, so it gives us a nice sense of a stabbing motion. The second thing is the weight. We want the weight of the claw to feel like it could crush Saitama. This is done by making it feel like the claw is heavy to pull up and easy to drop down. The animators do this by having more frames where he has to pull it up near the top of the arc and very little frames to smash it down.
That's
at the end.
slay.
The more frames, the slower the action. The less frames, the faster. Having more frames at the top of the arc also helps the audience register what's going on and what's about to happen, because everything in the shot moves pretty fast. It's also nice that he uses his other claw as a counterweight for the motion. The point is rammed across by having the camera shake and the debris of the concrete flying everywhere. This, however, is more of a secondary animation. If the arc and the weight are messed up, camera shakes and debris aren't gonna save the animation. The crab monster's arm retracts a bit because of his muscles contracting and the ground recoiling him back because of the impact. Getting to Saitama, he gets up to see what's happening, he crouches down to get ready to jump. This is called an anticipation in animation. He jumps up to dodge the claw and goes for the arm, which leads into the next shot. The cool part of the animation is that the butt is the leading part of the jump. This is
The
because
butt
you
is
jump
the
with your
leading
legs,
part
and the
of
main
the
part that
jump.
follows is your middle. The upper body of Saitama follows behind because he was in a crouching
But
position.
as
I
power.
like how he actually has to spread his arms and legs
But
in order
power.
to dodge the entire massive claw. Everything slows down at this point, and the thing that moves the most at the end of the shot is Saitama. His arm starts going towards the arm of the crab monster. This leads nicely into the next shot, where you immediately see his hands come down on the crab's arm, which he uses as a leverage to jump from. It's important to note that if we didn't have these frames of Saitama moving, that the audience might become confused as to what's happening in the next shot. Here's the transition without the frames at the end. It's not bad, but with the added frames it's definitely better. Here's another nice anticipation before using his hands to jump up. I really like how these two frames work together. You can really see that Saitama
Animating
uses
hands
his entire
must be
hand
so
to the
hard.
fullest to jump off the crab. This is because he pushes all the way back with his hands and closes them in the following frames. In the next shot, we can estimate where Saitama is by following the eyes of the crab. The tie follows Saitama and pulls on the crab's eye. The nice part is that the tie tightens around the eye and it takes a couple of frames before the eye is pulled down. This shows us that the eye is tightly secured to the crab's head and it takes a bit of strength to pull it out of its socket. It's also
I never
nice
thought
that at the
about
end
that.
of the shot, the tie pulls downwards, so we know that Saitama is on his way down from the jump. This also leads nicely to the next shot, where Saitama falls down and lands on the floor.
Oh,
This
why
whole scene
that
is just a
detailing
really
the
nicely
ass?
put together
Why?
choreographed action sequence. In the last shot, Saitama starts at the top of his arc and falls down. He has more frames.
Wait, need to get. I'm done. Sorry. Proceeding, sorry.
At the top and speeds up until he lands, where he pulls down on the eye until it eventually breaks. The tightness is created by the tie in the eye being as tightly stretched as possible. This is done by drawing the tie very thinly. There is a nice little loop where Saitama tries to pull down on the tie, and the crab tries to pull up and stand. They stretch as far as possible until the eye breaks. The stretching feeling is accentuated by vibrating the characters to give a sense of muscles pulling and spasming uncontrollably. In animation, this will be done by drawing the normal stretch animation first and then rearranging the frames to make it look like they're vibrating. Next up, we have Saitama breathing heavily. What's cool about this shot is that everything moves separately and in chain reactions. The inhale comes from his body. His shoulders go up first, his head closely follows, his shoulders go down, and his head follows that. It's all very subtle. What's also nice is when the mouth and the eyes open and close. His eyes and mouth actually first close when he inhales, widen when he's at the top of his breath, and close a bit when he exhales. His head actually slightly tilts downwards when he's inhaling. This is accentuated by the eyes and the mouth closing. If everything in the shot would happen at the same time, his head and
That
shoulders
crab
go up
ass, that's
while his mouth
true.
opens on the inhale, everything closes and goes down when he exhales, this shot would look way less interesting. Okay, so next we have a shot where Saitama gets grabbed, carried way
It's
up
so
high in
cute.
the air, and thrown down on a building. What's great about the grab is that the hand moves in a giant arc. It goes up a bit too far and moves down in order to grab Saitama. I like the little detail where Saitama's cape moves upwards when the hand flies past him. This further emphasizes that the hand is massive because of the amount of air it displaces around it. Of course, the fingers being closed around him in the foreground.
It's so
while the
cute,
screen
he
goes
just
dark,
grabs
helps
him.
too. What's nice about this shot is that we start off close to Saitama's head.
You
shows
think
the
of
predicament
this,
he's currently
bro?
in.
I just think if
The
it,
interesting part
looks
is that
good or
not just
not.
the
I don't
background
think
moves in
about
this shot,
nothing
the hand
else.
also erratically moves around,
And also if it
showing
looks
us that the
cute.
cameraman
because it's
can't keep
important.
up with the hand's movement and has trouble following
Look,
it
it's so
because it goes so
cute.
fast.
Look
The
at
hand
that.
quickly moves
It's
out of frame,
getting
leading to the
distorted.
next shot. We start off close to the hand to connect it to the previous shot and zoom out to show the entirety of the giant. The giant throws Saitama down and the camera still follows the hand to make the impact feel that more powerful. It kind of feels like we're being thrown too. Before throwing Saitama, the giant has a really clear and nice anticipation pose. His arm is thrown back extremely far, so much so that his stomach is bulging out. He's really
Jesus.
putting his all into this throw. If we go through the animation frame by frame, we see that the giant has already swung his arm all the way down before Saitama flies into the building. This is of course highly unrealistic, but the animation
Lol.
isn't about something feeling realistic, it's about something feeling believable. I think they made this decision because now it actually feels like the giant is throwing Saitama. We see that the animation still works if we remove the frames where Saitama gets thrown, but now kinda feels like the giant is punching the building himself. It's only 4 frames, but it really adds to the shot. It's cool that the building explodes per story, and that the heavy camera shake only starts when Saitama smashes into the ground. That's the point where the smash can send tremors to where the camera is positioned. Let me clarify that there's no actual camera in One Punch Man. When you position characters at a certain distance and place them in the frame, we immediately sort of create a camera viewpoint with our own minds. Now, Madhouse is trying to make One Punch Man feel like it's been filmed even more by adding camera shakes and follows, etc. Next we have a shot where the giant jumps on Saitama, who is laying somewhere under him in the rubble. You gotta love frames like these, where the outlines and colors are trailing behind the actual drawing. These are called smears, or speed lines. They accentuate the motion of the character, basically showing the friction they cause between them and the air around them. One Punch Man uses a lot of smears, but smears are a different topic to talk about altogether for another time. The cool thing about this shot is that the giant smashes down, and because he's so big and far away, it takes a while before the smoke and debris fly upwards. Everything also flies up in a sort of shockwave chain reaction. First the smoke flies up, and then the buildings in the foreground. It takes a while before the shockwave reaches us because it's so far away. This adds a sense of skill and depth to the shot. Next, we have the giant doing some sort of machine gun Gatling punch to Saitama on the ground. He gets wilder and wilder until he finishes it off with one big punch. I've never really animated something like this, but it looks like you just draw tens of punches going towards the intended target. Most of the arms are around 2 frames. They keep adding arms and harder camera shakes to make it more violent. What's great about the final punch is that his body and his arm move back.
My god!
Then his body moves forward to lean to the punch, but his arm is still going backwards to gather strength. The giant is essentially stretching the muscles in his chest and his arm as far away from each other as possible to maximize his punching power for when he eventually punches. Moving different body parts independently feels organic and interesting. It also makes the punch feel more powerful. I like how when he punches, his arm gets all wobbly and bendy. The special effects are interesting too. They use some sort of smear and lines to tie the two shots together. They show us that we've now rotated around the hand, they let us know where we are and where the fist is gonna land. It works really well. This is a great example of how to tie shots like these together. Next we have Saitama jumping up to the giant, punching him with some extensive replays, and the giant falling down on the city. It's technically well done how Saitama moves towards the camera. He enlarges in the right way, having lots of frames when he's far away and very few frames when he's closer to the camera. Think of an airplane that appears to move very slow when it's far away in the distance and how fast it's actually going when it's right next to you. I like the extremely erratic movements of Escape. It moves so unpredictably and fast that it feels like Saitama is moving at a super high speed. The screen going black and the camera doing
Why is that angle as some
between shots. Seeing Saitama fly up so fast and the camera needing some time to
Oh,
keep up with
thank
him
you.
is a great
I
idea.
didn't know, I just
Saitama
wanted to
pulling back
try
and getting
it.
ready to punch also leads nicely into this shot. We can actually see that Saitama is already twisting his body into the punch before we switch to the next shot. This way, the next shot can immediately start with Saitama punching the giant. In this shot, before the giant's head
So
flies
cute,
away,
Saitama
we
is
see that
like
Saitama has
a
already
tiny
punched the
stuff
giant,
there.
as seen here with the bulge and the opposite side of the cheeks. This little stoppage makes the punch feel heavier and more powerful. It also emphasizes how big the giant's head is by making it take time before all the energy has been
Oh,
placed into it.
thank you,
This
sweetie.
is what it looks
That's
like
so
without those extra
cute.
frames.
You know, I just want to
It's so
try,
pretty,
you
but
know,
not
it's
as powerful
true,
as
I'm not like... What
There's
could I say?
even
I
a
thought
delay
it
in the
would
lower
go
jaw that makes the punch feel more powerful. Once again showing that the transmitted energy is being dispersed in waves. I like how his neck even has a real wave of energy going through it, represented by this wave here. The punch gets repeated in this replay and in this one.
My
It's
god.
cool to see the flesh of the giant actually giving way to the power of the punch before his head flies back. I like how Saitama whips his arm around in a super wide hook.
Why is the
Stops
ass
the
like
impact
that in
and
those
flies
frames?
further with
Like,
his insane
why?
smear to reveal him
Don't
making the
focus
hook.
on the
The
ass,
head flies
focus
back
on
is
other
nice.
stuff too.
His head actually
I know
tilts
they
downwards
focus on
because of the
everything,
punch
but
being at the bottom
jeez.
of the face, making it fly backwards faster. We see his body giving out and dropping down sooner than the head, which is still being pushed backwards because of the punch.
Okay, the
When
ass
giant
is
falls,
powerful,
we have his
thank
body
you.
stopping because of it being smacked on the ground. The energy of the fall needs to be transmitted somewhere, so the leg gets raised further up and back. In this scene we have Saitama sleeping. He wakes up, gets caught in an attack, and an entire battle ensues. I like the startled way Saitama awakes. His body tightens up by moving his shoulders close to his head, and again relaxes by moving them apart. This isn't a carefree and lazy way of waking up. No, Saitama gets disturbed by something. Always give your animation meaning. How someone does something tells you a lot about the character and the situation they're in. By having Saitama deliberately wake up in this way,
Yes,
you tell the audience that Saitama already knows something is up. Saitama gets up in this nice arc and gets attacked. It dramatically works really well to have the debris and smoke obscure our vision, and then revealing that Saitama's head has been grabbed by the hand. The push Saitama does works well into transitioning into the next shot, where he even goes down a little bit from the previous action before getting up, which is of course done in an arc. It's nice
Why
in this
so many
shot where
arcs?
Saitama has to
That's
crouch
so
down
hard
to
for
catch
me.
his body from the impact of flying so fast towards the ground. Here we have Saitama being punched in the face. Because he hit at the top of his body, he rotates around his axis and flies off into the wall. The rotation shows how much power is in the punch, apart from him flying off into the distance of course.
I know, but
like how
arcs
Saitama
are
has to use his
hard.
arm to get his body up. This tells us that he's been hurt quite a bit, and he uses everything he can to make getting up just a bit easier. If we were to move Saitama from here to here without him using his arm, we wouldn't be giving the audience any information about his current situation. Plus, it would look pretty crappy. I added this shot because I thought it wasn't very good. Here we can see Saitama doing a jumping kick and seemingly do a double jump in midair. Now Saitama is pretty powerful, but he can't fly or jump in midair. He's still human. It kind of takes you out of it, considering the
Well,
other
I
amazing
still
animated
animate
shots.
without
Speaking
arcs,
of,
so I'm
here we
fine.
have Saitama doing a majestic jump, getting followed by
It
some
would be weird
earthlings
if
and
I
taking it out.
use arcs all
What
the
I'd like
time.
to say about action scenes like these is that you can have the crazy fast movements, the twirls and the jumps, but at a certain point in
Well,
your
you're
fight,
cute.
you have to slow things down a bit so people can react to what they've seen and catch your breath. In this majestic jump for instance, it starts really fast and hectic. It slows down considerably to show us what's going on. In this jump, the frames are close together too. Here, once again. And in the turn, it slows down considerably. Once again in this shot, the
Why
monsters are timed
the
differently.
ass?
Here we have a leg sweep, an amazing camera turn, a big punch, and monsters being smashed into the concrete wall. The sweep is great. The monsters are moving around, timed differently of course, and they're not just standing still and taking the sweep. Saitama is just too fast for them to react. Saitama uses his right leg as a pivot point, which stays
Because I see sport.
The rest of his
For
body
what I'm
bends around
seeing
really
with these
fast.
videos
He
is
stops the sweep with his
that
left
One
leg.
Punch Man
It's
is
really
about
nice how his
ass.
pelvis and his left leg are the main
Now I'm
places to
noticing
steer
the
action,
ass
while the rest of his body
details
drags
in the
behind.
frames,
You
like
can
why?
clearly see this in his arms. They're wrapped around his body because of the force of the spin. When the spin stops, they heavily rotate around his body because of the leftover energy.
Ultra
This
Kill
adds
has
even more of the sense of
ass
speed to the
power.
sweep. When he punches the
It only
monsters,
can be
there are some
Gabriel's
cool anime
ass,
effects.
because
Then they cut to the end
V1
result
doesn't
of
have
them
even
having
an
been punched in the
ass.
stomach. I'm not
Oh
an
wait,
expert on anime
Cerberus has
effects,
an
but the
ass.
general
And Mind
idea is
Flyer.
the flashes are usually
Whoa.
white, black or red. They delineate where the attack is coming from, where it's going to, the place it hits and the force it expels. It's cool that in this impact, they don't even show them flying into the concrete. They just show an effect of where they came from. The concrete breaks even more at the end.
Look
for
at
extra
the
impact.
body of
Cut
Saitama,
to
it's
this
like all
scene, where
straight.
Saitama is slowly walking towards the camera. The monster's reacting, and Saitama saying some words and pouring his heart out. The walking shot is great. It really shows that Saitama is
Okay,
having trouble
so S
moving
is
through
power
growing
to the
debris.
fist.
It also
Thank
shows
you.
his determination, and
Lol.
it's a nice build-up to the next shots. The stickiness is done by moving him very slowly and shifting his entire weight on one leg when he takes a step. If he didn't correct the center of gravity like this, he would fall down. What's great here is that he contracts his upper body and his head close together to build up energy. He explodes by throwing his fist against his chest. The impact is fast, but good. You see the left side of his body getting pushed back first, because that's the place he pounded. Then the very next frame, his right side follows, because of the leftover energy. I really like it in anime when they animate a shot where their head moves up and down, instead of their jaw moving up and down when they talk. It makes absolutely no sense, and you would only do this if your jaw was stopped by something when you talk. I think this is what they're trying to convey. The neck and the body is held so tight that the only part that can move up is the head. It makes everything feel more dramatic, tight, and it has more of an impact. Now there's a big fight, but we're gonna skip it, because I talked about most of the techniques used here already. I'd like to focus on this punch instead. It's amazing. It's a very simple idea, but it's executed very well. We have the arm and the fist.
Yeah, this
coming in
anime
to punch
has
the
a
stomach.
really
The
many
fist reaches the
punches.
stomach, but the arm presses on. The fist has nowhere to go except in and up, and the arm keeps going forward. This makes it feel like the stomach is super hard and the arm almost snaps in order to break through it. It also does a good job in separating the hand and the arm, which makes it feel more organic. I want to end the analysis on
Ooh,
this final
that's
shot.
cute.
We have a monster here swinging his swords around menacingly. It uses a lot of things really well, separating body parts from each other, using arcs, and separating horizontal and vertical movement. So he moves his body to the right first, then his arms follow, then he moves his body to the left and his arms follow that, instead of just going left and right. This makes it feel more alive. There's a horizontal sway, but vertically there's a clear beginning and end point too. He's not just looping from right to left. What's also cool about this shot, that it really feels like he has 4 arms and he can use them separately because of the way his arms follow each other instead of them doing the exact same
This
thing at
creature
the
is
exact same
cute.
time. It seems like the top arm always moves before the bottom arm. This might be because the main place the force comes from are his shoulders. The arms all move in an arc too, just as the cherry on top. Now the way he moves also feels like the swords have some sort of weight to them, because he's not just moving them at the same time he's moving his body. They're being dragged behind, and some of them are even pointing down. So, this is it for the first episode of One Punch Man. If you like this video, please
Wait,
click
this
on the like
was
button
the
below.
first
If you'd like to see
episode?
more One Punch Man or something else, be sure to leave a comment. And for all you striving animators out there, I hope this video helped you on your adventure to become the animation hero of your dreams. Thanks for watching, bye bye!
Thank you. Cool video, loved it. Amazing. Slay. But it was really the first episode of One Punch Man that looks like a lot of stuff. What is this?